Hello, Greg. Thank you very much for this interview. Can you please introduce yourself to our viewers?
Sure. My name is Greg Streit. I'm the head of game design on League of Legends at Riot Games.
I'm Zach, and I work for Russian gaming site ttf.ru. And thank you very much for this opportunity to ask you questions about League of Legends, Riot Games, and so on.
Oh yeah, happy to do it.
You know, a lot of players, they have passion for gaming industry, and so they obviously at some point they wanted to start working in gaming industry. And according to your experience, I think you can give them some advice on how they can get there and what they can do there.
So I did not have any particular background in making games. I was trained as a scientist. I studied oceanography, and I did that for a few years. But I found that I didn't enjoy it as much as I thought I would. My colleagues would go, they would go home and eat dinner, and then they'd go back to work and work on their experiments. And I would go home from dinner, and then I would go play games. So I thought, you know, maybe I'm in the wrong career. And I looked around at game studios, and one of my favorite games was Age of Empires. I really liked the history in that RTS. And I saw that they were advertising for game designers with no experience. And I'm like, oh, that's me, I have no experience. And so I just sent them a resume and started talking to them. They asked me to send in a sample, so I made a scenario, a map for the game and sent it in, and they really liked it, and they took me in for an interview, and I got a job as associate game designer, very junior. Just that I was a scientist and loved to play games. Back then, this is 20 years ago, it was very hard to get gaming experience, you know.
Okay.
Yeah, and even today, like, very few of the people I work with have like a degree in making games. Most people come from lots of different places, technical backgrounds, maybe they studied computer science or mathematics, but also, you know, people who study history or math or language. You can get into gaming from almost any background.
So, according to your previous experience, can you please give to our viewers several advice how they can enter gaming industry if they have passion for the games?
Sure. The advice I usually give is to try to make something. If if you have some friends who know how to program, maybe you can make a mobile game in Unity or something like that. If you can't, maybe you can make a mod for a popular game that you love. Some of our designers we hired because they had made mods for, say, Civilization or StarCraft that were popular. If you can't do that, then maybe make a website or a board game or a card game. I always say if you don't have fun making a card game, you probably are not going to have fun making the next Halo, because they're not that different, just the size of the scope. And then you can put that on your resume and show a company that you have experience designing, particularly if you have to iterate a lot, or you have to, you play test it, or you get feedback from people and make changes based on that. Because that's really the hard part of making games, is all the details and trying to make everything work together. Coming up with cool ideas, that's the easy part. The hard part is finishing a game that's actually fun.
So actually there are a lot of details in League of Legends, and so you have worked on that a lot.
Yeah.
So actually you like this job? I
do really enjoy it. I love when the team comes together and makes a new champion. Right now we've just talked about we're updating Evelyn, and players got to see what she looks like in the new form, and it's always a very exciting time. Some
people out there, your players, they would like to join your team as they graduate from the university. So what do they need for that? Actually, we scratched the theme a little bit.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, so maybe just like certain steps they need to do. So I graduated today.
Yeah.
And now I want to work for Riot.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't know, community management, SMM, something like that. So some entry points, if you can highlight.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about design already, and I recommended make a game, work on a game, do something like that. I think for something in the community department, it's helpful to be really good at writing, because a lot of what you're going to do is text that then players will see. So it helps to be very good at communicating, both in terms of structuring your thoughts, but also speaking the language that players speak, because you want players to say, oh, they get it, they're one of us, they're using the same terms about things, they understand our jokes and our memes and things like that. Another entry point is QA, quality assurance, but that means that you're very detail oriented and you're good at coming up with test plans and you're good at figuring out how to replicate bugs and that sort of thing.
Is it hard to get a job at Riot Games?
I mean, one of the nice things about Riot is the company was founded by a lot of people who had no experience making games. So I think we're very, we're very open to hiring people who don't have experience before. When I worked at Blizzard, Blizzard was very much like, no, we want people with experience. This is a mature studio. We can afford to wait for people that have shipped games before. But Riot, we hire people all the time. Maybe they're right out of school or something like that, or they want to change careers.
There is a chance.
There is definitely a chance, yeah. And the nice thing is, like, the industry is just growing. There are more and more studios out there. There's more platforms to develop on. So I think it's, it's getting larger, which means there are more opportunities.
And about the internal development.
Yeah.
About your game. Maybe you can tell something like League of Legends 2, something like that.
No, it wouldn't be a League of Legends 2. It would be a different kind of game.
It will be a different genre, right?
Yeah. We've already have a MOBA. There's no need to make more MOBAs.
So like multiplayer game?
We don't limit ourselves to a particular platform. The one thing that we do is we like to make games for core gamers. So we probably wouldn't make a casual game. We make games for hardcore players who are looking for skill-based. We do like multiplayer. That's not to say that all of our games would have to be competitive, but that is something that I think as players we all enjoy.
And the announcement is not soon.
Probably not soon. No.
Some time away.
We have to make sure we're confident that it'll be a good game before we talk about it, because we may say, "Hey, we're going to make this game," and then we're like, "No, this game is terrible. We're not going to make this game after all."
Okay. So basically, our next section is just like some technical questions from our players. So the first one is about the background music. Actually, our players want to know: will it be possible to change the background music maybe to the selected champion's theme? Because maybe it will feel more epic when you play a certain champion and his theme is playing in the background. So can you please tell us something about that?
Yeah, I don't think we have, we're not working on a feature like that right now, but I know it's a common request we get a lot, so we talk about that. We've just, this year we've experimented a little bit with changing the voiceover work. So recently you can have Star Guardian Ari do the announcer for things like triple kill, quadra kill. So maybe someday we might want to, change the music as well, or give players the opportunity to change the music.
Can the localization be changed on a certain server? For example, Russian server for now has only a Russian voiceover and Russian user interface.
Yeah.
And if a certain player wants to change it like to English voiceover, probably, is there anything he can do, or he just have to wait until?
Yeah, I don't think there's a way to do it today. Again, that's another request. In United States, we get a request a lot to be able to use the Japanese voices. The players really like the Japanese localization. So I think that goes in that bank of good ideas that maybe we'll do someday.
Any ideas about changing the loading screen design? I guess we are talking about the same screen. So just like when you click on the league icon.
Yeah, we have the ability to change it. When we did when we updated the client for a while, there was a screen that was like, oh, this is the new client and it's under construction and so on. So I think that's something we can change. I'm not sure how hard it is, because obviously within the client we can change the news pretty easily, so different things come up.
The information, again, about the visuals.
Yeah.
The information slipped online that you are working, you're going to change the core of the rendering engine. So does that mean that the game will have more visual effects, or maybe they will be like different in some kind, or maybe bits of the arena and champion's armor will become reflective again, or something like that? Maybe anything else you can tell about this, or maybe it's just a rumor. So if you can tell it.
Yeah, I think sometimes players imagine that there's a game engine and that you throw away the engine and rewrite it and make a new engine. But really the way it works is that it can be improved all the time. And the engineers, particularly the engineers who are very good at graphics, can try different things. Not that long ago we added very flexible looking polygons that we used for Aurelian's soul. And then we used on Cassiopeia's tail as well, because she's bottom half of a snake. And we made it look so that it moves a little more naturally. doing something like reflective materials for more mechanical looking champions is something we'd like to do. Sometimes we call it materials, where you can tell that like cloth looks different from metal, or different from, say, something that's slimy or scaly. Those are all things that we'd like to improve in the future.
What about the voice chat, especially in the ranked games?
It's a very, it's a very natural request. For a long time, we were worried about voice chat because of player behavior issues. So it was harder to control. But I think it's a team-based game. I think players want the ability to talk to each other because that's much faster than typing. So it's a very natural request. So it's something we'll do. It's something we've been working on. It's not a very high priority because players have the ability to do voice chat now through third party. They use something like Skype or Discord. Which is, that's not an excuse for us not to do it, but at the same time, players who really want it today do have options for it.
Actually, that moves us to our next question about new measures to fight the toxicity. Because of course, where people, they're like competing each other, some of them behave well and some of them behave really toxic.
Yeah.
And of course, I guess there are measures in League of Legends now that measure this toxicity.
Yeah.
But still, of course, there is always field for improvement.
Yeah.
So maybe you can tell something.
Yeah, League is a competitive multiplayer game. It's high stress, high tension sometimes, and that can cause players to act badly. In general, we kind of separate it into two groups. One is they're generally normal players, but sometimes they just have a bad day or they get frustrated in one game. And that happens. We understand that happens from time to time. That's different from players that they're just mean. They're just, they're only in there to kind of ruin the game for other people. Those players we want to be a little harsher about. And if they constantly have bad behavior and if they constantly get reported, they eventually will, lose their account and won't be able to play anymore.
Good. So actually, we have like a couple of questions about maps. I decided to put them into this section. So the first one is about new maps with interesting modifiers, like 10 versus 10 or maybe 5 lane or something like that, if you are planning to do that.
Yeah, so overall, Summoner's Rift is the main map for League of Legends. We're not going to offer like lots and lots of different kinds of maps. That's, it's kind of like a football field. That is the map you play League of Legends on. Where we experiment with maps are in our temporary game modes, like we did the Dark Star mode, where we've had a 6 versus 6 game and things like that. So that may be more where we experiment with different ideas, but they'll always be kind of temporary and secondary to the main Summoner's Rift mode. Okay.
And what about custom maps? Maybe the ones that community creates?
Yeah, we don't have. Overall, kind of our philosophy is that League of Legends is a curated experience. Like, Riot tries to offer things to players that we think players will like. We know other companies do differently, and they have a lot of tools, and they want the community to create a lot of content for their game. That's just kind of a different, different style of game than the one we make.
So actually, our next section is about lore questions.
Excellent.
And about the backstory of the game. So there are several questions about the map of the Runeterra.
Yeah.
So as far as I understand, there is some kind of Runeterra implemented in the game for now.
For a long time, we had kind of like our older champions are kind of dumb. Our map was kind of dumb. It was just a big round map that was boring. And we spent a lot of time trying to decide what does the world actually look like. Like, how far are Noxus and Demacia apart from each other? How long does it take if they're gonna fight? Where is Piltover on the map? If the Shadow Isles, the Harrowing, if the Dark Mist comes into Bilgewater, they used to be very far apart from each other on opposite sides of the worlds. That didn't make sense. So we've been spending more effort trying to make a real map of the planet. So
basically, players want to see maybe some kind of interactive form of this map, maybe recreated in 3D, where you can click certain spots and learn about the past territories, heroes, etc.
Yeah, that sounds really cool.
Are you planning to add something like that? Or maybe you have your own vision of the updated Runeterra map?
I think whenever we feel like the map is good, good enough state to share with players, it would be fun to do something like that. A very pretty, 3D, beautiful artwork, something like Google Earth, I don't know, that would be fun for players to explore.
Is there a certain group in the team that usually works on the lore, the maps, the background, and the story, and so on? So basically, probably you have inside Riot Games.
Yeah.
You have you update this map like every day, every week.
Yeah, I mean, the map, remarkably, we haven't updated in a long time. That's kind of why it needed attention.
Ah, okay.
But we do have inside. We call it narrative. Those are mostly writers, like people who write prose or fiction. They do a lot of the world creation, and we have a team called world building that fleshes out the history and tries to decide, hey, we once said this about a champion. Do we still like that, or is that kind of dumb and we actually want to do something, tell a better story about that?
You mentioned the void more and more, but still there is not so much info about it overall.
Yeah.
So probably how will we receive this info? Maybe a new hero, maybe a new map, new event, and so on, if you can elaborate on that.
Yeah, something like that. We also have, on our website, we have the section called Universe, where you can go read about the different factions, and we now have like a lot of, not a lot of detail, but we have some images and some history of, say, Demacia or Noxus or Shurima, so we want to do that for the Void as well. It's not, it's not a faction in the same way Demacia is. It doesn't have like a government and an army and stuff, but it is, I know players are curious about how does the Void work, what does it mean, and what is the relation between the champions that come out of that? Is everything in the Void like purple and green or not?
How soon can you know that?
Oh, I'm not sure. I don't know when it'll be done. It's something we're working on now.
Okay. So actually, people ask why there are no books based on League of Legends. So probably they want to explore the lore, explore the story in some different kind of narration, not in the game itself. So can you please tell about this field? So maybe you are working on something.
Yeah, we would love to do books. Like I said, we have a lot of writers at the company. We have people who have written books before, and so they would love to be able to tell better stories. We're just, we want to make sure that we have a good backstory, good lore to work from. We've just recently started getting into comics again. I think by now we've released three are out already. And as we get better at that, we'll investigate other ways of telling stories, including longer novels, maybe.
And if you talk about the time period, how old is the League of Legends universe? Is there some kind of starting point and maybe some kind of point in the future where...
Yeah, that's something else we've been thinking a lot about is, so going back when someone would make a new champion, they would just start to tell a story, like, particularly about Shurima, because that feels very old. Like, oh, this happened 3,000 years ago, and so now we talk a lot about, does Shurima exist at the same time period as, say, Piltover, which is a much more modern civilization. They use, they use guns and steam weapons and things like that. So we talk about, do these things exist at the same time period, or is Shurima like very much in the ancient history? That's the kind of stuff we're talking a lot about, right?
So what about League of Legends movie? Probably you thought about it. Maybe we talked about books previously.
Yeah.
Maybe you can share any ideas about League of Legends movie.
Yeah, it's a similar answer. It's something we would love to do, but I'm sure you realize there are a lot of video game movies that are not good, and so we don't want to make a bad movie.
So the next one is probably a little bit strange, but people are asking why are there no pants items in League of Legends? Because there are hats, gloves, boots, and so on, but there are no pants. Why?
I think in terms of like, fantasy and storytelling, like pants are just not very exciting. They're kind of silly, whereas like you put on a suit of armor or you put on a magic helmet.
Or you take an interview in a team of head, right?
Yeah, there you go. Right.
Yeah, of course.
So we have, we have weapons, we have boots, because boots make you go faster, but I'm not sure what pants would do. Make you more comfortable or keep you warm?
So no exciting pants for now?
No exciting pants for now. I think that's the challenge, is making them exciting enough.
It can be the name of the first pants item, exciting pants. Because
that's good. I was going to say Pants of the Ruined King or something.
Yes, of course. Maybe in the future. Okay. How do the factions of Runeterra celebrate the New Year, if there is a concept of the New Year holidays at all? So probably the second one comes the first. So is there a concept of New Year? And if it is yes, then how do they celebrate it?
I don't know. We don't know. That's something we're talking about. All of the holidays that we celebrate are real-world holidays, right? They're not necessarily Runeterra holidays. So as we flesh out the world, we're trying to decide, you know, what do they celebrate? Like the harrowing is not, you know, they're not celebrating Halloween or something like that. That's like when the you know, the mist is coming out of the Shadow Isles. That's not that's an event, not a holiday. Probably, I would guess they celebrate the New Year because a lot of cultures on Earth celebrate the New Year. But I don't know, you know, does the New Year start in winter? Does the New Year start in the Lunar New Year? That's all stuff we're still trying to figure out.